Time starts
Ushers
now.
are on their way.
Hi, host Eric here with an array of peoples. Let's make another conversation about something very interesting. I wonder what it could be. Let's talk about the structure of cognition, not so much from a cognitive function perspective, but from a um, redundancy perspective, which is to say, I've been told on a couple of occasions ways that I get around FI by combining this with that. I want to talk about equivalencies in that regard. Can we think about manners of attention, cognitive functions, as uh, joining forces to create equivalencies that allow one to have redundancies in human configurations for outcomes that don't necessarily share the same unique conscious valued function? Damon, you want to start us off with words of wisdom?
All right, so my first thing would be I would say that if you're fulfilling the role, and I think you are, but obviously there's an aspect in which you do use FI. It's just weak and unvalued in the ENTP. I mean, obviously you have things that are important to you. How do you think that TI and SI they how do those manifest in your personality to replace the standard function of FI in the role of importance because something is valued? Obviously you understand that it's logical, but if just because it's logical doesn't mean you value it. Or do you not value anything at all?
Well, I mean, I think NI helps me access what I value by transforming what I like into what I find true. So, in that regard, I know which songs I like better than which other songs. Is that a feelings thing?
Well,
Mm,
FI is not only feelings, it's really finding importance in something that you rate as important to you. It doesn't necessarily mean feelings per se. You know that something is logically true or consistent with your internal models or your rule book to life, your normatives. So let's just say that FI is essentially like your TI rulebook, but with things that are of importance to you. So that's what I want. I'm curious to how you feel that you may have replaced that function with the uses of things that are more obviously in your awareness and they're more conscious in your cognition.
well, I guess I do remember instances of bad feelings and want to avoid them. So I remember when I was a kid and I finally hit a bird with my slingshot. I never shot at birds after that because I went over there and the bird was all injured and sad looking on the ground. And it made me sad. And I felt bad.
Right. And would you would say that was a subjective experience and a subjective impression, right?
I mean,
Did you logically reason that experience at all?
no, it was an emotion. I felt
Right.
bad. I felt sad.
So, do you think that you've set up some kind of value framework to avoid sadness in general, or do you do it through a logical framework?
Well, I mean, I try to. I think there are two distinct ethics. On a personal virtue level, I act out of a general sense of harm avoidance and of harm fixing, like whatever you want to call that, and of good feeling producing kind of fe kind of angle. Those things are situational that are, I guess they're based on my feelings, but I couldn't I couldn't really do a good job of explaining that because they're not they're not very concrete. They don't allow you to really. They're not very. They don't. They defy definition of things or something like that. I don't know.
That's how FI feels to me. Now you feel my damn it function. That look on your face is exactly how I feel about FI at times.
it,
Damn it, I can't explain it. It just, ugh.
they confuse me. They really
Yeah.
do. I will say I had this experience. It helped me to understand feelings a little bit better. This was back in the summer. I walked in the 7-Eleven, and when I walked in, I was fretting about something, worrying about something. And when I walked out, I had forgotten about what it was I was worrying about. But when I walked out, I remembered that I was worrying about something, that I felt scared or anxiety or whatever that emotion you might call it. And when I walked outside, I remembered first the emotion, and I thought to myself, what was that I was feeling negative feelings about? And that prompted me to remember what it was that was worrying me. So it's like the most primitive form of the memory itself was the emotion, which I found interesting.
Hmm.
It
And
preceded any information about it. In that instance, I don't know if that's a general rule, but in that instance, that's how it played out.
so you had kind of a almost like a kinesthetic memory of that particular event.
Well, I mean, I literally walked outside, and I guess I felt a sort of an echo of the same worry that I felt when I was outside before walking into the store. And then I was like, "Oh yeah," and then I said to myself in my internal head voice, "What was I feeling negative feelings about, or what was I feeling bad about?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah, it's that thing. I've already done the thing. I can't do anything else. I just have to wait until this and find out." It was like I'd already worked out the logic of it, but I was worried about it going in, and the worry is a feeling that you normally feel about something that hasn't been resolved. That thing hadn't been resolved, but I had done everything I could do. So there wasn't any reason to think about it anymore. And so my worry said, I don't care if there's no reason to think about it anymore. Think about it anyway because I am primitively prodding you.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. What I find interesting about this is more the fact that I kind of have the same relationship with emotions in general. I have the same, very similar things I could recall where I've had the kind of the same. What the hell? This thing recalls an emotion, but I don't even know what the hell it is. I wonder if this is true for all NT types. I wish Courtney was here because she could confirm or deny this particular aspect. But I wonder if she has that same experience, or it's just something that you and I maybe have been subjected to that made us feel that way. So I don't know, but it would be worth exploring further because I really want to know if it's just a type issue or is it a some kind of experience that prompted us to feel that particular way.
Um, who feels more in touch with their FI than me or Damon? Anyone? Anyone want to be the moist one? Who wants to don the garb of moisture for the purposes of this conversation?
Someone please don the garb of moisture.
That's
Someone
why I've been
please
on
leave.
an FI since. Well, okay. You know what, Damon? You're an SI third slot, aren't you?
SI?
Yeah.
No, it's my seventh. It's my worst. It's my
Oh,
polar
it's your
function.
worst. So why aren't you messy? Do you keep track of your schedule and stuff?
Yeah, I do.
So
You want to
what's
see
up
it?
with that? Your TE overwhelms your SI or what?
uh, I don't. For me, well, the thing is, the socionics description of SI is I've never fully related to the SI polar fully on socionics model A. On model G, I do as the break function, but model A, I don't relate to it as the vulnerable entirely. I will say that it took me a while to become extremely organized, but for me, it wasn't always that way. But I was kind of forced into it in a way too. So I realized what was most effective, and then I said, okay, in order to make sure that I stay on task and get these particular things done, I prefer to structure and organize my life. I think in the socionics way, for me, it's the issue that I do struggle with in far as SI goes is more of taking care of my personal needs, as in keeping on top of learning how to relax. I do not relax at all. I don't even know what that means. Even when I have fun, I have this. background. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. It's hard for me to totally relax. I also
Do you
will.
find this
I don't
relaxing?
usually forget to eat. Do what?
Do you find this relaxing?
No, it's like a mission. I'm getting information.
Okay.
Yeah, it's odd. I'm telling you. So for me, it's like that's part of it. The other part of it is like I may just cut my sleep out. I may sleep like 3 hours a day for 4 days, and then I may sleep 12 hours the final day. It all just depends. But I'll just cut sleep out. Sometimes I'll just keep going and going and going and going and going until I just fail ultimately. So I push myself to the limit. Yeah, but those are the areas that I do relate to it. But the SI and Socionics Model A, I don't relate to as much as far as like keeping your environment organized. I don't relate to that aspect of it because I tend to be very organized. So, but yeah, for the most part, I do relate to the whole taking care of the needs, not relaxing, that type of thing.
So,
Always
are
having
you
that
likely
background
to
working.
sit someplace, be cold, and not realize it, and not realize you're cold for a while, and then go, oh shit, I'm freezing, and then get up and get a jacket finally? I can hear you
Yeah,
over your repeater.
yeah. So that would be part of it. The other part of it would be, um, I'd be like, for example, I would, knowing me, I'd be like, okay, it's cold. I'm not going to die, so I'm just going to face it. But yeah, it would take me a long time to. It would take me a long time to actually tell myself, oh yeah, you need to get a jacket. I wouldn't even be aware of it for the longest time, and then all of a sudden it'll hit me, and then I'll say, oh shit, yeah, you probably do, or it's actually cold. I don't recognize it. So I really love the cold, and I don't like to wear jackets very often. But when I look at the temperature, then I know, okay, it's a certain temperature outside. I probably should wear a jacket. But if I go out there, I won't. I've been known back when I lived in Kansas. I've been known to like not wear. I wore shorts all through the winter. People thought I was crazy, but I don't know. I didn't really feel cold like everybody else did, and so I didn't really recognize it until a while. So yeah, it took me a long time to do that. So that's the part I do understand. But I think if I were to, like you kind of said, maybe I'm mimicking SI for the necessity and the effectiveness of TE. But I will say I'm not as structurally organized as like an ESTJ. What I mean by that is like my schedule isn't the lord of my life. The schedule it bows down to me. So the schedule essentially I will alter it based on what I think is necessary. But I mean, yeah, I have one, but it's kind of a framework in which I feel okay. I kind of need to get these things done. Versus you have to do this at 1 o'clock or you're screwed. You have to do this at 2 o'clock or you're screwed. So for me, it's just a guideline. It's not really like I have to do it that way. But yeah, my organization, I just found it's more effective to keep things organized, so I can find it easier. I think otherwise I won't be able to locate the things I need as quickly as possible. Do I experience satisfaction? Not really. I tend to look at things critically. So I'm not really satisfied. I try to find satisfaction, yes, but do I experience it as a natural state? No. Uh, yeah, I think my only form of satisfaction that I've experienced as far as is actually accomplishing a goal. I set my mind to something and it happens, I'll be satisfied. But then the first thing that comes to my mind is once I'm satisfied, I'm like, okay, what could you have done better? How could you have expedited that goal? How could you have improved it? What could you do differently? What could you do differently next time? And it never stays on the positive. It always moves to what needs to be improved. I've tried, but that goal is not. It's hard to quantify that goal. It's hard to actually create a smart goal out of it. Is it specific? Not really. Is it measurable? Supposedly, if I write it down. Attainable? Who knows? Realistic? Yeah. Time sensitive? I don't know. It's difficult to be able to see if I can actually attain that goal. Instead, it's not something I typically will quantify. So I would have a difficult time naturally attaining a goal that I can't metricize.
Okay, so granted that personal satisfaction in a given endeavor ultimately can't drive you What then does drive you?
That would be my value framework, which for me, my biggest driver for why I do all the stuff I do is because I genuinely care about people. And and a lot of people do, but I've utilized and I recognize I've been alive long enough to recognize where my skills are. And in my youth, because of my traumatic past, I recognized that I didn't want anybody to live that way and to have to go through that. And so when I recognized that that was a primary issue that's actually happening in this world, and there's people who have had it way worse than me, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know how these people would go through what I went through, nevertheless go through worse than what I've been through. And I had to tell myself that needs to be fixed. And in order to have the power to fix this, I have to attain power. In order to attain power, it comes with knowledge. It comes with being respectful. It comes with taking care of other people, learning to provide for them when necessary. It comes with a lot of different things, but ultimately that's what motivates me. That's what gets me up. That's what causes me to do what I do. It's not necessarily that I want to purchase all these nice, fancy things. It's not that I want to live the life ultimately for me. It's about taking care of others and being responsible and accountable for your actions in doing so, and in the process, learning as much as you can and creating solid relationships so that you realize that you're not the only one influencing. Because in order to create change, at least in my perspective, you have to have a lot more people on board than just yourself. And I mean that kind of change, and to be able to help the kids that may be suffering, like I did when I was young. And so for that would be one of my primary motivators. And this is deeply rooted in, like, again, my personal beliefs. Do I feel like everybody should follow that? No. That's just what motivates me. Do I teach other people to tie into a route like that? No. It's just what motivates me and gets me up. Is that it's just recognizing that that thing is happening as we speak. Someone right now that's probably a 4, 5, 6-year-old child is dealing with what I dealt with or worse, and knowing that I'm taking every day, taking my time, and not doing the things that I need to be doing. It's a pressure motivation. And I've turned it into something positive, but I was pressured as a child, and it was a negative experience for me. And I've taken that pressure and I've turned it in a positive way, which actually has part of the accountability of making it negative as well, that's a whole drawn out topic, but ultimately that's what motivates me.
What motivates me?
Good question. What motivates you?
I don't know.
Okay, so hold on. Let's. We can actually analyze this. When Ken says something totally illogical, what motivates you to correct him?
It depends on a lot of things, but if you forget about the first part of the sentence, what motivates me to correct Ken? Just ask that question by itself. I would answer uh, stuff that won't work well in the media, according to my instincts. In other
Okay.
words, basically, FE mistakes as manifest in the media. That would be my answer.
Okay.
And
And do
the
you think
FE
that's
mistake,
that?
and the FE mistake become
Eric, you're kind of
formalized,
quiet
so
too.
to speak. Am I quiet?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're kind of quiet.
Okay, sorry. I just had the mic turned down.
Yeah, I got you now. Okay.
So, yeah, I'd say it's if I feel as though something won't be working in the video or will come off as a stumble in some regard, then in that case, I'm probably likely to try to dive in and redirect or something.
Okay. And why does the video matter? I mean, ultimately, if he's presenting something that will stumble the video, why does that matter?
Um, well, there's just an ongoing directional push towards the perfect video,
Okay.
which is whatever it is, but you know, just a general push towards trying to get the videos cleaner and better and trying to perform cleaner and better and trying to have things come together nicely. Is it a strong push? Not necessarily. There's definitely, though, a strong emphasis I feel for whatever reason to intercede when I think something is boring. Like not to me, but to a perceived audience that I'm worried about.
Okay. And so you mentioned the pursuit of this perfect video, but I guess the following question would be, what motivates you to have a perfect video?
Um, well, I mean, it's more interesting than things that have a ceiling. If the alternative is things have a ceiling, and it's better than that.
So would you say that your curiosity is a motivator? You said it's more interesting.
Well, I mean, the alternative is that it ends, and you go, well, done with that. I have to find a new game to play. So you do that game that doesn't have a top because you always get the sense that you could really nail it one of these times and like get right a perfect song or right, you know, make a perfect video or make a perfect joke thing or and you're always encouraged by getting better at it, knowing that you're improving at it. But that doesn't really answer the question. I guess it's so I will have more anchors in other people.
So maybe that you want to make a positive impact on people in a fun way.
I mean, I like it when people enjoy it.
Yeah. But I mean, we're trying to figure out what's the motivating reason. Is it because you're motivated by the feeling of people enjoying what you produce? Not even you personally, man. I mean, that's the channel.
I mean, I guess I would say I feel as though I am somehow safer, more solid, more real, more preserved when I have more connections to more people, such that there are always lots of seeds out there that could do something. If I touch base with lots of different people and sort of, well, I like to use the word metaphysical equity. Like I get them, if I get them and my metaphysical equities commingled, then that's a good thing because that may pay dividends down the road in some way that I don't anticipate right now.
I can understand that. That makes sense to me. I guess you can also find out what the motivating factor is if you look at the if you look at if somebody says something and it may have generate some type of positive response. Maybe it's tapping into that inner motivation that makes you want to do more. Do you remember the day that you created Talking with Famous People and it was maybe just something you wanted to play around with, and then what it triggered into an actual thing that became as big as it did today?
Yeah,
I
it
know you didn't
was.
really have a plan. You hate plans, but I mean, as far as like that decision to go, you know what? I think I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, or I'm going to
Right.
put
It was
money into
when
GoTo.
one video finally achieved success on its merits, and people said, "Oh, I like that video a lot, and I enjoyed watching it a lot, and here's some positive words for you." You know, for me, that was the catalyst to think, "Oh, okay, I have to reevaluate this whole thing now," because then I realized, so basically, the way you try to be successful on YouTube is by making good videos. It's a very complicated equation. That's what I finally accepted. I didn't believe it theretofore because it seemed to me that There wasn't any way they could figure that out or something. But they seem to have successfully figured out which of my videos people like the most by using a watch time criterion, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can tell you, your videos deliver a lot of value, at least for me, and I get a lot from them when I watch them.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is,
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about the whole thing. I know that I'm obviously getting minimal impact on practical vectors for the effort I put in. In other words, I am not maximizing the ratio of positive output to positive input at all. So I'm aware
And
of that.
does that cause dissatisfaction?
Well, it makes me feel like I feel stuck a little bit in a loop. Like I'm playing NEFE and not doing the TE shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm pretty lenient with myself.
Right. See, my case would be like, you need to fix it. You need to fix it now. Like, you can't waste any more time. You put 3 hours into making this. That 3 hours needs to yield. Whatever it may be. Yeah, and I measure it, and I'm so used to being able to say that's total crap. You go, why? Because it has 12 views or 5 views, and I'm just that's total crap. It's been up for 3 days. The video sucks. But I have this thing where I have this philosophy that I've adopted lately, and it's kind of amusing to me. The more that I hate my video, the better it performs. And and so I absolutely have hated like the last 4 videos I put up, just with a passion. I don't even want to look at them. And I'm just like, I don't even want to look at it. I just give it to the editor and let the editor upload it, and I don't want to touch it. And it's because if I evaluate it, I'm going to evaluate it off of the system of metrics in which I think is a quality video. And that metric is not the effective metric of what the market is going to tell me. So I've adopted that, and I'm like, okay, I've got to let go of my own metric, and I'm also really hard on myself, and so I've learned to kind of just pass that off. Like, okay, I'm just going to let go. Because I've deleted videos. I've deleted probably over 60 videos I've recorded because they were so horrible. And I'm like, now I'm thinking to myself, I hated them so bad, they probably would have been knockouts.
Well, I haven't deleted any of my videos, but I'm not at all unwilling to put almost all of them on private and, present a new face of the channel. I could, at some point, then download, unpublish, and download, delete, and then republish to relaunch some of the older videos, give them a new life in people's feeds. The thing is, I've got so much content that it's not possible anybody, probably even including me, has seen all the videos.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
So,
unless you literally have no life.
the question then becomes, well, Eric, how do you make use of that? And the answer is, you need to be the sort of channel people subscribe to if you want to do that thing. But at the same time, I have this other vision of this thing, which is inclusive community, kind of everybody make shit. And I don't know. I don't even know what it is. It's just this thing. It's this.
I can define it in the way that I've defined it, and I think it's where you have set this up to where people feel 100% welcome by your channel for the most part. You have your little, moisture people, but for the most part, most people feel pretty welcome by your channel. And there's no barriers. Literally slap host on your name and you're good to go. Yep. I mean, the barriers, there are none. And
some of us moisture people don't mind sticking around.
Yeah, and so
we appreciate it,
Moistures,
you guys are my very favorite participants.
Yeah, people with puddles often realize that they probably shouldn't be leaving puddles everywhere. And so they learn from the channel. and they grow from the channel, but ultimately they feel welcome, and that makes them even more moist. So it's kind of it's a beneficial channel in general to a lot of people, and it's very entertaining. I mean,
Thank
it's got a
you.
lot of personality. There's pretty much no rules,
That's
and
true.
so
There is
you
one.
know,
No nudity.
yeah, that one, yeah, no nudity because you might get kicked off YouTube and
Right.
whatever else. Yeah, but that would not be a rule if YouTube didn't have a problem with
Well, I wouldn't want it to turn into a porn thing, though. That
it. It
probably
couldn't be a
would eventually
porn.
be a rule because, I mean, well, I'd allow some boobs. I don't want to see any penises, really,
No,
on the
you're
channel.
doing the mammograms. I remember that. Got the
Really.
mammogram thing
Yeah.
going. Come back tomorrow.
Um,
But no, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the feel that the channel has generated. So if you were trying to generate that type of feel, it was successful, and that's the metric you use to gauge its success. Not I guess not the perfect video, like, but more of do I have the perfect environment?
well, I mean, I think that those are separate projects, right? I can feel good about the
Yeah,
environment and feel as though it's a comfortable place to make videos, and then I can feel with each individual video making thing that I do that it's intermittent, on some scale of success. The problem is there's this one thing that I just don't like to account for, which is scarcity. You know, I, I don't like having to be subject to that law, where by being more scarce in what people can get, it becomes more sought after, right? So I'm quote unquote flooding the market with Ericness. So much so that nobody thinks any piece of Ericness is special at all because there's infinite Ericness around. So, but the thing is, that's the whole point of what I want to do, or thought I did anyway, was just not be constrained by those considerations. But now I feel as though it's okay because I don't really care so much about whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows anything? Not me. Thanks for watching Dr. Bevis Beer.